The number of confirmed deaths has passed 200. The governor has called a state of emergency.
There are hundreds and hundreds of bodies.
Hello there, Sarah from 17 once again. This is my Last of Us survival difficulty video walkthrough. We're entering the period of winter, and this is Chapter 8, Lakeside Resort. This is the hunt. So, this is probably one of the hardest missions on the game. I personally feel that it is the hardest because it has the sequence where I believe I died the most due to actual gameplay and not something that could have been avoided. Because when you get grabbed by a clicker, you just kind of get grabbed by a clicker. It's one of those things. And on this sequence, this is actually, you know, getting mauled, which is something that only happens if you play a situation wrong. And on this moment, you can play it right and still get mauled because it's a little bit rough. And the game doesn't really prepare you for it. But that is kind of what The Last of Us has done all the way through the game. There are moments of difficulty spikes, which the game never really prepares you for because the combat in itself is, you know, is so open for you to interpret that a lot of people might get through this game just shooting guns and never touch the bow. A lot of people might get through this game doing nothing but melee or stealth takedowns, and then when the game throws you into a situation where you have to do something different, it can be quite challenging to adapt because you're not used to that method. But I've played enough Cabela games in my time to realise that this is a hunting section. The only difference is this is preset, it's not open as I imagined it would be. So once you hit the deer, it's going to move away from you, and eventually the blood trail will lead up to this area here. So instead of you seeing me run around the area following the blood for a while, I put a little crossfade in there just for the interest of brevity, because this is once again another long video, and it's going to lead you down into this compound. And once you're here, there's going to be a whole bunch of story beats. But obviously you're not going to see those because this is just a guide. But what's going to happen is we're going to be pinned in a room with a stranger. And I know that sounds extremely rapey, but that's not the way this goes. He's going to help you like the NPCs help. And this is essentially Resident Evil 4 in the house with that Spanish guy, who I can't remember the name, where the zombies are coming in through the windows and you have to stop them. And there's a gamble here, folks, where if you kill the zombies, they're not zombies, you know what I mean, the infected, sorry. If you kill them outside, you do not get ammo. But if you let them get in, you run the risk of taking damage and also allowing it so that the barricade is down so more zombies can get in quicker. And I said zombies again because I'm an idiot, because I've mentioned Resident Evil and now it's polluted my brain. So there is this risk versus reward system of, if you let them in, you can sometimes get a reload. If you don't let them in, you will definitely be safer, but will not have as much ammo. And as you can see, you don't have to play perfectly. This moment does checkpoint quite a lot. And it's one of those checkpoints where it kind of screws you a bit because you can't remember where you are. And you don't know how many enemies are left, you don't know how many enemies you've killed. And it checkpoints, I believe, just after you push this chest, this great... It looks like a kiln. And you get attacked by a clicker, he helps you out, and then it's back to the action. So, I've got my bow on because I don't have a lot of ammo, and it turns out the bow against the standard runners on this sequence is an insta-kill. So if you can hit them, you can kill them. And once again, here's a choice. Do you hit them outside and lose your arrows for good, or do you risk, you know, hoping that they don't break? So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to finish him off, because when an enemy gets shot by an NPC, they go into a flinch mechanic, and if you go close to them and you melee, Ellie will stab them with the knife she's got, and it's a really quick kill. Same with if you've got a brick or a bottle. If you throw a brick or a bottle and run up to them with Ellie, she will finish them off. And it does work with Joel, but Joel usually kicks them to the ground, and then it allows you to either shoot them or kick them in the face. But now I've got a couple of bullets back, I swap back to my rifle. Be aware that people will be coming from behind you, so if you're in a situation like I'm in where I've had my back to this wall for quite some time, you need to push to the other side just in case. But the tickers are everywhere, man, just carrying bombs for the Locust in this imaginary world. No, the clickers are the one you've got to watch out for because they will insta-kill you. But as soon as he says, you know, time to get out of here, make sure you follow him, and you will get a checkpoint, I believe. So even if you die coming up, you should be okay. This sequence now, if you shoot the first clicker before it gets towards the door, it will flinch and not get in. There you go. I think that was actually a kill shot. Because I've had times where I didn't do anything trying to save ammo and that clicker got in and killed me, so be very, very careful. But this next room here is... It kind of sets itself up to be a stealth room after all that action. But you don't have to stealth it, you can run it, and... You might die a couple times, you know, getting the path down and what have you, but it's quicker than crouching everywhere, because on this sequence in particular... You know, I wasn't really in the mood to be stealthing past clickers, and I just decided to bomb it, so if you die a few times, it's par for the course. So we're being separated, he's being attacked by a clicker, and what's going to happen here is, when you run, you immediately set them off. And... what I'm going to do is, that one's been set off anyway, so there's no point in me even crouching. But I'm crouching here to get under that, and then I'm just going to run to the ladder. And boom. You don't have to deal with any of those people. They cannot climb ladders, I don't believe. That one is not a threat. He gets shot. That is pre-programmed. And then all you have to do now is pick up the ladder, and then get yourself up on... Oh no, it's not a ladder, sorry. It's just a leg up. My bad. Selling you misinformation. But yesterday, Microsoft did a U-turn on their Xbox One policies for DRM, used and rental games, and the constant internet access stuff, which is just insane. It's so crazy, and everybody's going into the corporate greed of it and the capitalism, and they're like, Microsoft didn't do it for you, they did it for the pennies. It's like, come on guys, if you think any fucking company that is in, you know, that is... a company that exists to make money is doing anything other than for themselves, you're not in the right world. And everybody seems to think that Microsoft are worse than Sony just because Microsoft are American and there's a lot more, you know, exposure and understanding of them because they come from a larger area. Like Sony are a Japanese company, and in Japan they might be treated just like Microsoft are treated in America. You know, it's one of those things where everybody likes to say that their company is fair and, like, fucking pets dolphins and doesn't do anything wrong or, you know, for the bias of corporate greed, when, in reality, every fucking company does, because if their margin is to make money, they have to be that way. Like, look at the whole... We set up our companies in a foreign country so we don't have to pay domestic tax, because domestic tax is much higher, and thus we have this massive government loophole of, yo dog, we are tax exempt on these places where we're selling and making fucking millions. You know, every company does shit like that. It's... capitalism, you know, Ich lieben und Capitalism, or whatever that achievement is on Metal Gear Rising, which I still haven't got. But it's just funny to see that people can be so naive as to think that companies aren't in it for their own interest. And Microsoft is suddenly this big greedy fucking epiphany of thieves, when they've essentially always been that. They were a company that went to push progress so that they could make money, and then when they started making money, they were making a lot of money. So, you know, when people start making money, what do they want, folks? More fucking money. But this is the hard part, if you were wondering. This is the bit where if you're going to die, it's going to be here. You want to craft as many Molotovs and bombs as you can. You're probably not going to have the ability to craft too many, because this is on Survivor, and Survivor is exactly that. But what will happen is people are going to come from that corridor we came from. People are going to come from that window just in front of me. They climb in. People are going to be everywhere, and you're not going to have the ammo to kill them all immediately, so you're going to have to get good at trying to kite and not get punched. It all depends on how well you can play at this point, and a little bit of luck. So there is a checkpoint after you kill a half dozen of them, and it's one of those things where it's going to put you in a place that you weren't even close to, and the enemies are going to be spawning in, so you can't get an advantage on them. But it doesn't really matter too much on this sequence, because... you know, you're going to be too busy surviving. You're not going to be caring too much. You're just going to be trying to live. And I like this corridor a lot. This is kind of the place where I feel the safest, because it gives me wiggle room. The only problem is there is a spawn point directly at the bottom of it, so it's not like you can put your back to the wall. And I remember on hard having that little pistol here. I think I did. I can't remember. Like, I just have visions of having more weapons. And that is obviously to do with the fact that it's a harder difficulty, there's scarcer resources. But here we go anyway. I'm going to start with the bow, because the logic is if I can use the bow to the best of my ability, I can save the rifle for you know, when shit gets intense. That is a clicker. I'm not even going to fuck with that. I'm just going to put it down, because... oh, what a bad shot. It's just that thing, isn't it? The time when you shouldn't be missing your shots, you do. But it actually helped me out, because I do get a refill. And now they're going to come from both directions. So... there was a crossfade, because I did die, but I got a checkpoint. And as you can see, the bodies are already on the floor from where we killed the previous ones. So, here come the spawn of runners. So there's the first runner. I'm waiting for my buddy to help me here. I was hoping he was going to hit him a few times, and he just didn't. And whenever in doubt, give the AI time to kill them. But if they get close, put them down. It's just the safest way to do it. Like, I can be quite patient and take risks, but you know, when they start getting that close, you might as well just end it. See, look at him then. Nailed it fantastically, but the other ones, he just didn't. So, after you kill that spawn, there's going to be a bloater. So, I immediately throw a Molotov at him, and then I throw a bomb at him. That one was a bad throw, but this one is a kill throw, I think. Because the cool thing about the Molotovs is when he's on fire... when the bomb goes off, it is enough to put him down. But this is not over yet. There's people spawning behind us. So you need to immediately spin around and start engaging them. So I run up here, put a shot in him. There's another guy coming, put another shot in him. That guy's been stunned by the shots of the NPC, so I can take him out as well. But I'm out of bullets. So run back down here, because people are spawning behind us. Or maybe not. It's the people outside I could hear just then. And I think that that's over. So, a couple of things to note. The drops and the ammo counts that you get are completely random. If you get lucky and it's generous, you'll have no issue with this area. If you don't, it can be a fucking nightmare. But there is a crossfade. But we're on a horse, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's the name of the character from that comic that Ellie reads. And all you want to do here is try and get away from the guys. I'm not too sure if you can do this without being damaged. Like, I mean, how do you dodge that? You're on a fucking horse, you know? Like, is there a path that guarantees 0 damage? I'm not too sure. What I do know is that this bit kind of sucks, because I really liked the horse, and it doesn't end well for it. But this is probably my favourite level on the game. I love the winter section. It's undoubtedly the cruelest and probably the most brutal section of the game. But it's also got some just fucking intense and really great combat sections. And I am all for the combat sections. And on my playthrough on hard, I got myself into some interesting situations because I was literally hunting everything. I was with the bow, I was taking them out one by one. I felt so powerful and so lethal. I felt like Ellie's character had a progression from being this innocent girl to being akin to Joel, to this lethal machine of survival, and it felt really, really good. And then when I did the recording for the guide, I decided to be a little bit more stealthy. I missed an arrow just then. It was stuck in the chair. But there's a crossfade because I did fuck this up. But you can stealth this first section, which I wasn't aware of, and I'm going to show you how I did it. So I come out of there, I climb in here. There's 2 guys walking to your right, so make sure when you're crouch walking that you don't go too fast or they may hear you. But once you get out here, if you continue down this line, you shouldn't see anybody until we get around the next crest. So there's probably a shit ton of loot in this area, but it's the age-old risk and reward factor of, do you risk being spotted or do you engage in a firefight with these people just so that you can perhaps pick up a bottle of bleach? And a lot of the times it's not worth it. So instead, I'm just going to completely go around this, circumvent all the struggle by going behind these toilets. And this is weird, because there's a lot of dudes in this place. Like, I'm going to put this guy down with the bow. Or maybe I'm not. And see that? This random guy jumps out of a toilet for no reason. I get ready to put him down, and then he jumps back in. And you just sat there wondering, what was that about? And then there's 2 guys there now. And I know there's a guy to my right because I remember it from my first playthrough, and I don't know where he is, but I'm kind of going balls to the wall here. And lo and behold, he's there. So thank God that this game is realistic and he's actually looking around as opposed to eyes directly straight on his path, or he would have seen me. But I broke my last arrow, which means in the next sequence I do not have the opportunity to stealth kill at a distance. But what I do have is the advantage that I've got through that entire scenario without triggering anything. So I've turned a potentially intense and very nervous siege on that little coastal town area into a nice little stealth adventure. But the next sequence coming up is probably the more intimidating moment for most, and I was really looking forward to it, but I realised I didn't have the same amount of ammo I did last time, so it wasn't going to play out the same. The cool part about this game, and one of the things I really commend them about, is you can stealth the next section, and it doesn't give you the mandatory, enemy fight tricking fucking checkpoint nonsense. And I think that's my biggest pet peeve in the game, when it looks like you can stealth, and then there's an invisible tripwire that's mandatory that alerts everything, because it's just stupid. But all that's left to be done here is to crawl through this pipe. There's a puzzle coming up on the next pipe, and then we'll be fighting the next batch of dudes. But the consoles are such strange things at this moment in time, because both machines are essentially going to be like, recent PCs. They're not going to be the most top tier PCs, because PCs are probably going to excel in the next year and move away, but they're at least going to be, comparable to some of the higher end PC stuff. There's the RAM problem, and then there's also this notion that the PlayStation is more powerful than the Xbox. But I don't think it's going to be as noticeable as the Xbox 360 to the PlayStation 3 was. So, from just from a flat-out hardware perspective, the systems are pretty equal. They're the most equal systems have been in a generation, I would say, since perhaps the Mega Drive or the SNES days. They are both very comparable, and I like that a lot. And people might be thinking, oh, well, what's the point? There should be a difference in them. Well, my logic on this is not necessarily which is better, just because it's got these bells and whistles. It's a case of, because both machines are so close to each other, it's going to become about the games, and it's going to become about the developers hooking up and getting the exclusives, It's going to be more about the teams pushing themselves to make these great games for these systems, as opposed to saying, we can't make great games because we are limited by these systems, or we can't do that on Xbox because it's so much more powerful. Look at the disc thing. I assume the Xbox One's using Blu-rays, which is just insane. Although what else do you use? Fucking mini discs? Do they do a GameCube? So there's no longer the whole thing of it can't fit on an Xbox because the discs are too small. They've both got this equal footing when it comes to that, so it's going to be a lot more about the games and the software than it is the hardware, and I think that's where a real console war deserves to be fought. Because when it's on a hardware side, it just gets to the point where who has the biggest dick wins. Unless you're from the perspective of, well, it might have the biggest dick, but it doesn't have the best balls. It's a really strange situation. So I think when people are saying, sweeping statements like, oh, the console war is over, the console war hasn't even begun. These consoles haven't even shipped. And the real battle is the games. And as it stands, it's exclusivity that's going to win. Or it's people's, fondness with sequels or fondness with franchises that they're bringing back. I'm really interested to see where this goes, and I want to get both of them. It's just, they're so fucking expensive, They're not cheap at all, and it's one of those things where if YouTube becomes my job by that point, which would be amazing, even though the work you put into YouTube and the pay you get is pretty disparate, it's kind of insane. You should be on 6 figures for the work that goes into some YouTube channels, but that's just not how the world works. But if I happen to be lucky enough and fortunate enough that I can support myself by making these walkthroughs, by helping people and entertaining people on the internet, that would be awesome, because then I would be able to buy them, and they would definitely benefit the channel, because new consoles are hot shit. I put a video up the other day that was just news about Microsoft, and it already got more views than these videos are getting, which is extremely sad considering that video took about 40 seconds to make, but it just goes to show where people's interests lie. And a lot of that is probably the fanboyism and the hatred and the console war and pouring the petrol on the fire notion. But I don't think anybody could disagree that being there at the start of the consoles when all the games are coming out and it's all new and fresh and different, it's an exciting period to be part of. So I don't want to miss it, and I want to be able to share it on YouTube, so hopefully that's going to work itself out. This sequence here, as you move through this building, there's going to be a bunch of melee guys, and the AI on the melee guys is kind of weird, because at first they're going to stealth and try and find you. When they know where you are, they're going to try and get to you, but they usually use a flanking route, so you'll notice I'm being very tentative, because I know they're here, I just don't know where. And there's a possibility that you can just completely skip them, run to the door and start bashing triangle, but I didn't want to do it, just in case I ended up getting ambushed. So I am making this look extremely intimidating and a lot more nerve-wracking than it actually is. And I think I just stand up and run to trigger them, because I was getting a bit impatient. And another thing was I wasn't playing with sound, and sound is so important on these moments. Somebody's heard me. There he is, and he grabbed me. And I bite his arm like a pro, and then would I stab him in the neck? No, I stab him in the gut. That's the thing I love the most about Ellie. Her melee doesn't fuck about. It's none of that punching nonsense. She just sticks them. Sticks them like a pig. So we know that there's a guy that's run across there. We've just seen him again. If he runs a direct line at us, he's dead. If he flanks around, which he will, because they're not stupid, the AI. It's pretty great like that. So I move behind here. He starts running. I put one through his chest. And I believe that that's it. So, check the bodies, pick up what you can, get to the door, and it's going to trigger the introduction to the next part of the level, which is the second section. So thank you for watching anyhow, folks. I hope you're enjoying the walkthrough. I hope it's helping, and you take care now.